Welcome back to another special edition of Weird NASCAR Rumors. Last time we looked at all of the rumors about who was going to replace Rusty Wallace from 2005, and today we're going to look at all of the rumors about who might replace Mark Martin from back in 2005. So, let's jump in and talk about what might be one of the most dramatic punts in the history of racing. So just like Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin announced prior to the 2005 season that he would be stepping away from full-time Cup Series competition at season's end. Sure, he went on to run another 234 Cup races, including 4 more full-time seasons, and finished second in points in 2009, but hey, it's impossible not to love Mark Martin, and in his defense, unlike Wallace, he didn't say that he was retiring. He said that he wanted to continue racing, perhaps in the Truck Series. With all of that said, the rumor that I'm going to start with isn't actually the first rumor that was presented, but I think it was the most fun rumor. In May, Speed Channel reported on the possibility that had actually been discussed, where Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace would split the 6 car for the 2006 season. Wallace said that the offer was very attractive and made a lot of sense for him, but he turned down the possibility. Jack Roush, for his part, said that the possibility of Martin running a part-time schedule in a Roush car was very low, and that it would be very difficult, though not impossible, to sell a sponsor on the idea. I personally love this idea, and I really wish that it had happened. Seeing an all-star car shared between Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin would have been amazing. Imagine watching 2 all-time greats sharing a car at the end of their careers just to mess around and have some fun. I would have loved to have seen it. When it comes to individual drivers rumored to be taking over the 6 car, the first name that actually came up soon after Martin's announcement in October of 2004 was that of John Wood, the son of Wood Brothers co-owner Eddie Wood. John Wood was racing for Roush in the Truck Series at the time and won a pair of Truck Series races for the team in 2003, but was struggling during the 2004 season. He would go on to race in the Busch Series full-time in 2005 and was still considered a candidate for the ride as late as June, but things didn't work out and Wood would actually be done racing in NASCAR after 2008 at the age of just 26. One thing to note is that the names that were rumored for the 6 car going forward typically had a different theme than the drivers who were linked to the 2 car. You see, Rusty Wallace was leaving a seat that had a sponsor attached to it. The 6 car had to find a new driver and a new sponsor because Martin's sponsor, a little blue thing that did, well, you know what it does, wasn't sticking around, and they needed a driver that could attract a sponsor or bring one with them. This meant that most of the drivers mentioned were veterans that sponsors would like and perhaps see as low risk. The first such name on the list was Ricky Craven, a 2-time Cup Series winner who had signed to drive for Roush in the Truck Series in 2005. Roush Racing president Jeff Smith actually implied that they had signed Craven as a way of auditioning him for the 6 car. His name would continue to be mentioned until late May and would actually be given a little bit more emphasis when it was rumored that his former sponsor Tide had actually been signed as a sponsor for the 6 car, which obviously wasn't true in the end. 2005 would actually be Craven's final season in NASCAR, save for one Busch Series start in 2006. One surprising name that was briefly linked to the 6 car in April was actually Ryan Newman, who was said to be unhappy at Penske and was rumored to be being pursued by a Chevrolet team as well. Newman was still under contract with Penske through the 2006 season, so this rumor never really made it very far, but funny enough, Newman would go on to drive the 6 car for a few years, more than a decade later. Actually, I think this would have been a great move for Newman if it had worked out. Roush was at the very top of the NASCAR hierarchy at the time, and Penske was kind of a mid to upper mid-tier team at the time, and Newman would actually only have 1 win in his final 3 seasons with Penske from 2006 to 2008. If he had been with Roush during those 3 years, I think he would have won more races and challenged for championships. The next veteran drivers to be rumored for the seat were Ricky Rudd and Sterling Marlin. The Ricky Rudd rumor seems to have been short-lived and didn't have much to it, but the Sterling Marlin one was interesting. Marlin's name had been floated as early as April, but in June the Gaston Gazette reported that Marlin actually had conversations with Roush about the 6 car. Then, in early July, things changed when Jamie McMurray signed to drive the 6 car for Roush starting in 2007, and Roush needed a gap year driver. The day after it was announced that McMurray had signed, it was reported in the Winston-Salem Journal that Marlin had acknowledged that he had discussions with Roush and may be willing to accept a one-year deal with the team, seeing as it was a championship-caliber ride. The next week would see a whirlwind of rumors, as everyone tried to figure out how to handle this whole gap year situation. But quickly before I get to those rumors, if you're enjoying this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's free and it really helps the channel out a lot. Okay, so one interesting name that came up was Michael Waltrip. This kind of stemmed from 2 separate rumors coming together. In late May, Roush president Jeff Smith stated that the team had a sponsor lined up and ready to sign on the 6 car, but they were waiting to see who the driver would be. Michael Waltrip and NAPA were on their way out at Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, and in July it was speculated that this mystery sponsor may be NAPA. And the added speculation to that was the idea that Michael Waltrip may join them at Roush for a one-year stint before making way for McMurray in 2007. Jack Roush acknowledged that he had spoken with Waltrip and that he was on the list of drivers that they were considering. But the rumor never really went any further than that. In the end, the team managed to convince Mark Martin to return to the 6 car for one more year if they could not figure out a way to get Jamie McMurray out of his contract with Ganassi. Martin agreed, and it seemed like the plan would go smoothly. Then Kurt Busch decided to go and throw a wrench in the whole idea by signing a contract to go to Penske in 2007. Then getting let go early by Roush and Penske apparently stepping in and paying off Ganassi to let McMurray go to ensure that Busch would be released early. That allowed McMurray to head straight to Roush in 2006. And while that meant that McMurray would go to Roush, it meant that he'd be going to Roush as the replacement for Kurt Busch, not Mark Martin. And the search for a replacement for Martin would resume the next year. If y'all have enjoyed this video, then let me know, and maybe I'll do another one on the sequel search. I just think that it's funny that Jamie McMurray was apparently the top choice of both Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin to be their respective heirs. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Have a great day.